Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to try to build a PC that can run the field alignment software of Tektronix, because I have still in the back of my mind this is the TDS744A, and you can hack it to the TDS784A, and then instead of having four channels 500 MHz, it can have 4 channels 1 GHz, and more is cooler. So I really want to do that, but you can only do that properly if you can align it. You need to calibrate it, and to calibrate it you need the Tektronix field alignment software for that, and it is a DOS program, and because it is DOS, it doesn't have drivers, so you need very specific hardware for that. And I did read a lot, and I think I got all the right components. I didn't try it yet, we will try it together, so let's see if I get it to work. So the search starts for the computer, but that also depends on the hardware that we need. And the hardware that we need, that is a National Instruments adapter, needs to be ISA, and it needs to be able to do PCIe. And so we can look for a card like that, but we start with, we need an ISA slot. And I remember then that 10 years ago when I moved, I threw all my old computers out. Starts from like the 286 and then all the way up to Pentium 3, although some Pentium 3s already have PCI only, so you need to be careful with that. But I thought, well, I think I still have some old stuff. And I have here a computer. It's already a Celeron D, so it's like a very slow, energy efficient Pentium 4. And it can only run XP, so probably I will be able to install DOS only on it. I cannot use the XP emulated DOS, I think. But first of all, most important thing, does it have an ISA slot? So let's have a look. So I open it up and I already see this is not going to work, because if we have a closer look, you see here the white slots. These are PCI. That is already for plug and play, and we need to have the one that you can set with jumpers, the ISA slots. They were usually black, and they have, instead of these tiny slots, the connectors were a lot bigger. Here we have AGP, that's for the video card. And so this one does not work, so I need to look for something even older. So I was looking through my old computers and I really didn't find one, so I turned to my Marktplaats. It's a local eBay. And I found here one for 20 euros, which is a nice price, but this is also a Pentium 4 already, so that means I need to look for older one, like Pentium 2 or Pentium 3, because I think if you go way below that, it absolutely has ISA, but it is maybe also very slow. So I want something in between. But then I found out instead of 20 euros, you already start to pay about 100 or 90 euros. That is more or less the price. In the end I found someone with a compact, and he also wanted around 100. Here I say you can bid from 50, but I contacted the guy and I said, listen, I don't mind if it is a real compact or not, I just want something with an ISA slot. And then we came to an agreement. He had something old in the back, and so I got one. So when I have it now, it is it's a Pentium 3, I think even 450 MHz, so it's super fast, but it still is an old motherboard that has the ISA slots. So let's have a closer look. It's a bit big, so I can't show you the front, but I can show you a picture of it. Here is a look at the inside. So you can see also the AGP for the video card. We have here PCI, 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 and here, but here in the bottom we have even 2 ISA slots, and that are those big bulky ones with big connectors. You can see those are the one we need. So it has a network card. I will take that out, because maybe if it somehow uses an interrupt I need later, and the same for this modem who is using an analog telephone modem. So I also will take these out just to be sure. So I took those cards out. Now we can have a much better look. You can really see the difference. These are very fine connectors here, as you can see, and these are a lot bigger. So we need these big ones. And if we have a look at the back of the computer, you will also see that for the keyboard and the mouse, we need these other connectors. Nowadays, you would always use the USB, but for doors where there is no driver, we need this PS2, I think it's called. And just to be sure that when I'm cleaning, I will not throw away this old PC, I just put a nice Tektronix sticker in the front, and I painted the cover. Let me show you. So I think with this color, it's not necessarily exactly Tektronix blue, but at least I know, okay, maybe this is a special PC I should not throw away. And the same for the keyboard. I also painted the same color with a nice Tektronix sticker. Probably when I see this, I will not throw it away. So now the PC is ready, we need to start looking for the card. And as I said, we need an ISA card with PCIe. And yeah, it was difficult to find. You can find it, but they are very expensive. So I tried to find another one. And but why we need the ISA, and as I said, that is because we are using DOS, and with the old DOS programs, there is no driver in between. Nowadays with Windows, you have the operating system, you have the driver layer, and then you have your hardware. So the application talks to the driver, to the operating system, to the hardware. So if something goes wrong with the hardware, the operating system doesn't crash immediately, and also there could be malicious code in your hardware, or depending where you have bought it, and that could be a problem for the operating system itself. But back then in the DOS area, they just were glad that they could access the hardware. So they talk to the hardware directly on the interrupt of the processor. You need direct memory access, and you need to know at what address the port is. So in the past, instead of just putting it in your computer and just let the driver figure it out, you really need to set with the jumpers or with switches what address, what interrupt, and if it needs the DMA or not. So let me show you on the computer. So what we need is this ISA card, and I have here this ISA card, and you can see here it says GPIB PCIe, and that's the card that we need. You can see here in the bottom the big connector, so it's not the fine one as you could see with the PCI. Here you can set your interrupts and your DMA, and you can set your address. And as you can see, it's 1, 2, and 14 and 15. And let me show you the next page. Here we can see the type, your interrupts, your DMA, and the main chip on this one is the NEC 7210. And this card, if you buy this card, it will probably absolutely work. But this card I found starting from, well, the card is like 30 years old, as you can see, but it starts around 100 euro up to crazy, like 300. So I wanted to look for another solution. So in the end, I found this card. It is also ISA, as you can see. It is also from National Instruments, which is important. And you can set your interrupts and your DMAs, but it is a different chip. But this chip, let me go here, this chip can do both PCIe and PCIe. It is 2 years newer, it's a revision 2.1, and you just switch your addresses here. So if you use the PCIe mode, which I'm not sure the software will support, but you can set the addresses for that. But if you want to use the PCIe, as I want to do, you switch it over to this setting, and here you have the same addresses, 0, 1, 2, and 13 and 14. And there is also compatibility mode, and here we have the same 7210. So this chip can talk the same language as the 7010 from NEC, and this chip is actually from National Instruments, and it can also do 9914. And well, here we have a better look at the interrupts and the DMA and the switches. Here you can see it can also do some other type of 9914, but anyway, I took that one above this one because this looks really old and it was very expensive. Well, this one, it's still expensive, but it I think it was from Israel, and I pay around 70, including all the imports and everything. So this was my choice. Hopefully I picked right. So I'm on the floor with my computer here set up. I managed to use a memory stick. I downloaded the field alignment software from the TechWiki. Very nice source. You should check it out if you're working on Tektronix, because huge base of information. I found the software there, downloaded it, put it on a memory stick. This computer is a dual boot. It has DOS and it has Windows 89. 89 does have USB support, so I didn't need to put it on a floppy, and I just copy the install program to my C drive. It has a hard disk, and there it is as an install folder. I think the folder name is disk 1. And I will run the setup from there. But I didn't add the card yet. And I just want to see if I go to the setup procedure where I need to set my DMAs, my interrupts, and my addressing. Because if I put now the jumpers on a setting that is not available in my software, it will not work. So I first want to see through the software. And I'm actually prefer to use the default settings of the software. And I will adjust my card accordingly to that. And I have my card here, and I see it was $60 US even. So I will put a link, because the seller had more of these cards, and it is exactly the one that I showed you with the jumpers here and the addressing here. And I will need to switch it over, but I just want to go through the software to see what are our options. Well, I don't have a screen recording software for doors, but let's just try to see if this works. I'm booting the computer. All the old noise from 30 years ago. It is cool. I think you can see the screen. That is good. It has a Pentium 3 450. It does have a CD and a DVD. Perfect. And let's just go to command prompt only, because we need the doors. So it is actually Windows 95, but it has still the doors mode. So if I do that, let's see, I have here my disk. So disk. And here we have the install program from TDS. And so let's just run the installer. And what questions do we get? Okay, we need to try it like this. Okay, first question is enter the hard drive letter, so that will be C. Want to install it. Do you have a Tektronix RIC386 or just an IBM clone? In this case we have an IBM clone. And oh, this question surprises me, because here we actually get the question, is it PCIe or PCIe? And that is not what I read. I only read you need to have the PCIe. So apparently you can have both choices, or the software is already a little bit newer. But I like to go to the default, so I will say 2. Because I read most about the PCIe. So let me type 2. Okay. Then it will ask the DMA channel, and the DMA channel is by default 1. So let me see, can I pick 1 on my card? Oh, it is already selected on 1. You can see here, it is already on the 1, so that is good. So which DMA channel? So that will be channel 1. The DMA is the direct memory access. And the interrupt is here 7, not 0. I cannot even select 0, so this is a little bit weird. So 0 is maybe none. I think interrupt 7 is usually, let me see in the documentation if I can find what is the default for this card. Okay, I actually did find something from this card, And you can set here the settings for the PCIe. Well, I showed you that jumper, but here we have the defaults, and if we use GPIA, this one, it is indeed the 1, 7 and the 7210 mode. So I will select, instead of 0, I will select the IRQ7, but I am not sure because in the past I think the printer port was 5 or 7, so I need to check in my BIOS or switch it off. That printer port, I will not need my parallel port, but I think the first one was always on 7, so then they share that and that will be a problem. But they say here the default setting should be this. Okay, for interrupt 7 I need to do a little bit more than only put the jumper to IRQ7. I also need to set here my switches 1, 2 and 3 to 1, so I did that. And well, the addresses I also put the default, everything to the right, then it is 0 because it is only the 4th digit, so it is 021E or 22E1 or 42E1, so I just picked the default, that is 0, so both to the off position. That is good. And then they talk about what could be shared in those addresses. Well, I didn't quickly solve a problem, but as I mentioned before, the print port could be a problem, and indeed it is. So if we pick 7, I need to make sure that I switch off the printer port of the Mio card that I have in that PC, so we can freely use the interrupt 7. Okay, back to the computer here, so that means we are going to use interrupt IRQ7. Enter the switch setting. I don't know what this means. That is maybe the address. Well, it is now building. Okay, so it's installed somewhere. Maybe we can see the patch file. What did they do? Yeah, they created a TDS700 folder with an extension. That is weird, but okay. Let's see what I put in the bat file. PC2A170. So the address I'm now not so sure about what I needed to put there. Because if this is the interrupt, the DMA, the interrupt and the address, I should have really put there an address, but they weren't really clear about that. They asked for a switch setting, they didn't ask for an address. A few things we know, it needs to be on this address, this DMA, this interrupt, and this is the default setting that I found. So first I'm going to do the settings that I know. So we want to put it in PCIe mode, so that is already done, I think. I don't really see what is the switch position. Okay, let's have a look in the BIOS, because we want to make sure. Let's see, I need to push delete. Yes. We need to free the interrupts and the addresses, and I don't need it to be a game PC. So if I go here, floppy drive controller, okay, that's okay. Printer port. As you can see here, this one is using interrupt 7. I don't want that. I can use it, make it use interrupt 5. No, I don't need a printer port, so I will disable that. If we go here, now this one is using interrupt 7 and DMA 1. Also don't need that. So let's just switch off the whole audio board. That is the problem with these new PCs, that everything is integrated. But you can also just switch that off. USB is fine. So I think we freed up now all the interrupts and DMAs. Well, the IDA is all good, I don't mind. PCI, I think it was AGP, right? No, doesn't matter. Go out here. Can I see something here with the plug and play? It said that the 5 was an ESA card, but now the 7 is also ESA. So that is going to be reserved, and the DMA 1 is also going to be reserved, so it can't be used by the plug and play. So I think that is how it works. The 5 is okay with me because we are not using the 5. That was for that sound blaster. Plug and play, no resources control manual. Yeah, I think this is okay. Save and access. Let's stick in the card. Well, I installed the card in there. So let's put the computer together and see if the software recognizes it. Okay, let's see if it still starts, or it's gonna be, or it's broken, or it's gonna beep, or this has been so long ago for me configuring this stuff. It still seems to boot. Is it complaining about things? It doesn't seem to be. Not yet, at least. Now it's starting. Go to the command prompt. What was that folder named? TDS700. Unused. I knew it was some sort of bad file. Okay, so we need to start ADG 700, and then it will start with the parameters that we configured with the install program. Let's see what it will do. Enter your name or the organization. Okay. Verify date and time. Press F7 to reset the date, 8 to reset the time, or return key to continue. Okay, well, oh, it's in the middle there. Yeah, that is okay. So return or enter. Okay. Select the device that we want to do. That would be this one. Connect the cable and power cables to the rear of the turn on. Wait for power on complete. Okay. I wonder if it will just see the device. It's not complaining, it doesn't. So let's find the cable. Okay, I switched off the computer, connected the GPIB cable, and I put my screen on a different position so we can see the oscilloscope and the screen together. So let's find again TDS700 .adg. DJ 700. Okay. The time is okay. We press return or enter. Okay, it says 744A. It looks like it didn't see it. Turn on, wait for power on to complete. I did that. Make sure the signal cables are disconnected. I also did that. So it did not find it. Then I think did it not find my DUT, or did it not find my card? Okay, so that is a pity, but well, I'm wearing my admin shirt and I have my computers in all the right colors, so it would be a pity if we cannot get it to work. But then I was thinking, wait, we got a lot of questions, the DMA, the interrupts, and another question that I did not understand. And they said, what is the switch or something? And the default was 0. And then I look again in the configuration file, but it is just what we saw. And then I thought maybe it is the GPIB address, because it was not asked ever what is the device's address. So I looked in the configuration and have a look. Well, on top of that, this is my first Tektronix oscilloscope. It's my first time that I use GPIB, and also in this complicated setup. But I think if we go to the utility, we have, let me see, can I do I/O setup somewhere? Yes, talk and listen is here to 1, and we answered 0 to that other question. So let's set this one to 0. I don't see an OK button, so it's probably just back. So if we go now again to that setting, it is still to 0. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, let's try that again. I constantly forget what is the name of that file, so it is over there. Okay, 700. Okay. Apparently it doesn't store the name, or it's if you do more alignments a day that you can, I don't know, give it a name or something. The time is correct. It is a 744A. And try to detect. And it says initializing device in the test, and I see here a little clock. So it is talking. Cool. So the last question is probably the address. Okay, yeah, and I can select if I want to do a full sequence or a partial sequence, or I can do the test. Okay, let me do a test. There is an error. What is the error? Oh, it is still in write protected mode. Okay, well, I'm not gonna continue any further. I think I will do interrupt F2 and then leave the program, because then I need a lot more. But I just wanted to see if the communication is working, and it seems to be. So then you can buy this cheaper card. Yeah, it is, I don't know, reverting settings or something. It is just doing things, and the screen is clear, and this screen is also clear. Good. So that was cool. It was a lot of finding out, took me a lot of hours, but once we set the correct interrupts, the correct addresses, the DMA, of course configuring the BIOS, and also in the end it was just stuck on the GPIB address, which in the end was very simple to change in the oscilloscope. And here is my blue computer, project finished, and thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.